The NFC North is tighter than it ever has been. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gridiron podcast. I know. We keep promising my coworker will be on, but unfortunately, again, due to scheduling issues, he is unable to join. But he did guarantee me that he will be on next week. So let's hope that actually comes to fruition.
He's definitely
Mike's over here
dodging,
thinking that
man.
he's dodging.
He's dodging, especially after these last 2 weeks. I'm hearing a lot of talk, but he's not here. Nah, I'm just joking. I know work's going on, but I'd love to have him on and have this conversation.
Yeah, so you guys are stuck with us again. I know. You guys love us. But let's get into this. I'm going to save the Packers game for last
Oh yeah, of course.
because there's a bit to talk about in there. But let's start off with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is very interesting because I think both of us had the Commanders winning this.
Yeah, I did.
But they come out and win 31 to nothing.
It's an absolute disaster over in Washington, man. I mean, Jaden Daniels, I think
Yeah.
he got re-injured, went 9 for 20 with a pick, just was awful. Mariota was not any better. The Commanders we saw last year, clearly not the same team. Injuries, just not the same team, and it's just falling apart. Vikings, JJ McCarthy did have a nice bounce back game here with 3 touchdowns. 5-8 for the Vikings, but it's not enough. But it's good to see his development. That's what the Vikings want to see at this point is progress and his development.
Yeah, I agree because we were talking last week about Kevin O'Connell potentially like being a trade option for the Vikings, which I even said like I don't even know how that's even a possibility. But I think this win doesn't really speak much. Yes, they won 31 nothing. Yes, they're facing off a team against a team in the NFL. But this game really doesn't speak volumes to me for the Vikings. I mean, their stats weren't anything too special, and they're still going to be a team that misses the playoffs.
Really quick, Nick, I just want to, because I also needed to look this up, and you just asked how. Coaches can be traded, but obviously it's very rare. But one team will give up draft picks and sometimes cash to acquire the rights to a coach's contract from the other team, obviously with the coach's consent to sign with the new team. So it's almost like a player, just it's with draft picks and their contract
It's like a
situation.
team
So
option type thing.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I just needed to look that up too because I was kind of wondering the same thing. But yeah, I know we were talking about that last week, but going back into this week with the Vikings, 31 nothing. It's good to see. JJ McCarthy, once again, I mean, he did his thing, but unfortunately, we're at the point where we're focused on the top, of the NFC North where Vikings are kind of just left out. But we still got to talk about them.
Yeah, and I know in our preseason predictions, we had the Vikings obviously at the bottom, but where we didn't see this happening was with our third place team, the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, they come out with a good win against a hot Dallas Cowboys team. Obviously, Dallas winning three straight going into this game. The first half was pretty much dominant by the Lions. They were up 20-9 going into halftime. And then right after halftime, Derek Barnes comes up with the interception with the bobble by George Pickens. But from there, it kind of got a little scary. Dallas was starting to march down the field and score. Obviously, Brian Branch now torn Achilles. We hate to see it. He was on track for another Pro Bowl season. Not knowing when Kirby Joseph's coming back, Terrion Arnold potentially still out for the rest of the season. Now, I saw a crazy stat. The Lions last year had the most injuries by any team in NFL history. They're on pace to beat that again.
Not
Just
good.
not the same amount of players on IR at the same time, but the amount of injuries that have been piling up. And obviously, Thomas Harper also going down is a question mark for the Lions because both safeties going down. Avante Maddox came in, he stepped up. And then the Lions coming out with the signing of DeMonte Kazee, which is a huge signing. He's a veteran. He had a season a couple years ago where he had 7 interceptions. He's known as kind of like a Cam Chancellor type hit player where he can knock a player back 5 yards if he wants to. But also in this game, Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 touchdowns, ties the record for most touchdowns before a player's 24th birthday in the entire NFL, tying Barry Sanders. And Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't turn 24 until March. So there is very high possibility that he breaks that record.
I'm gonna ask you because we talked about this last week with the Lions that you wanted to see more from the run game. And do you think in this game, even though they only rushed for 110 yards, I think it was, um, do you think that the Lions were effective with Gibbs and Montgomery?
I think yes, because we still utilized Gibbs out of the backfield in terms of the screen passes. I know he made Bland touch earth and completely broke his ankles right after Bland was talking smack to him. That's why you don't talk smack in the NFL and then have that happen to you. I would say I want a little bit better play from the offensive line. We did allow Jared Goff to have more time in the pocket than normal this year. So that's a great thing to see. But some of these penalties, like with Tate Ratledge getting false starts 3 plays in a row, and then Miles Frazier getting 2 false starts in the same drive, that needs to stop. Like, yes, those two are both rookies and they're going to have to get adjusted to the NFL game, but Tate Ratledge has started every single game this year. It's unexcusable.
Yeah,
And then having to pull Cologne because Cologne allowed 3 pressures back to back and was not moving his feet and was just allowing people to just run right past him. And then bringing in Miles Frazier, he looked a lot better. I'm hearing talks about potentially Christian Mahogany coming back to practice this week. So that is a good sign for the Lions. And then the turnover battle as well. Obviously, 3 turnovers. Really should have been 4 or even 5, really. The one at the goal line as well, where the offensive lineman moved it forward on 4th down, which that is a new rule. My little brother was like, is that a new rule? And yes, that is a new rule this year where on 4th down, offensive linemen cannot touch the ball. Only the player that fumbled it can move it forward. But 2 interceptions out of Dak, both of them really big. Obviously, the one coming out of halftime by Derek Barnes and one to end the game by DJ Reed.
I want to say that it was really I thought the game was over by the fourth quarter because I think the Lions were up by 2 possessions at that point. And then I saw the Cowboys kind of coming back in, making it a one possession game. I think it was 37-30. And on the Lions possession, the next possession they got, it was Jahmyr Gibbs or Montgomery. Somebody broke out for 30 yards. And it was just game
It
at
was
that point.
Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean the Cowboys defense, I know I took the Cowboys last week. This defense absolutely did not show up. Could not stop the run when needed. And yeah, it was a really good win for the Lions to stay in the competition for the NFC North. They needed this game, especially at home. It was a good win. Great win.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned last week I want to see another great game out of Jamison Williams, and we got that. 7 receptions for 96 yards. Also a rush for 7 yards, which could have been ruled a touchdown, but he did step out of bounds at the 1 yard line. But seeing him kind of come into his own is big for the Lions, especially if they want to make a deep push. But I also want to mention the secondary a little bit. I kind of touched on it a little bit. The touchdown that made the Dallas Cowboys come within 7. It was a broken coverage by Meek Roberson, and Brian Branch was not in position by any means. But besides that, we limited George Pickens. We didn't really limit CD Lamb until he went out with a concussion. But George Pickens, I want to touch on this because we mentioned stuff with like Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown throughout the year. The effort out of George Pickens in this game was absolutely horrible if you're a Cowboys fan. Like you're not thinking he's going deep when he's just walking his route.
It's interesting because he's also playing for a contract, and that was a big game for the Cowboys too. So that was interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, 44 points. I mean, the Lions they showed up, their offense came back, and the Cowboys defense couldn't stop them.
Yeah, and then let's go into the game I know you want to talk about. If you guys didn't check out our short that we posted,
Oh
Mike
my
had
gosh,
like
man!
one of the best reactions to a win that I've seen out of him ever.
Listen,
But the Packers beat the Bears 28-21.
the context for that short, being from Chicago as a Packers fan, I'm not going to give the story as to how I became a Packer fan. Let's just say I got family in Wisconsin, got me at a young age, converted me. The people back home, my friends, family, texting me, always talking trash, to be able to win almost every time. I think they said it on the during the game. It was the head to head is like 52 now to 16 in favor of the Packers. That's the reaction. The pride's on the line. To be able to win, there's just more to it. It's more personal. But actually, Nick, I'm gonna step away from the game for a second and actually talk about a specific player who I was really shocked by in this game. Not on the Packers, on the Chicago Bears. The absence of DJ Moore. One reception, -4 yards. I was confused. The reason why I want to talk about him is because with Roma Dunze out, I thought he was going to be the next guy up. That was not the case. He got 2 targets. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on why we see the decline of DJ Moore in this offense, because for the past couple years he's been slowly going down.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even really have a good explanation. I mean, he's one of the better players on your team, and obviously with Roma Dunze being out, you really don't have another solidified wide receiver besides for Luther Burden, who very controversial, by the way,
We'll get to
to
that.
start the game off. But that was very controversial. I do believe that Luther Burden should have been kicked out of the game, but we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a good explanation. I mean, the last play that I forget who it was, but got the interception in the end zone for the Packers. DJ Moore was wide open. Nobody was in 5 yards of him.
That play, he's actually like the fourth option read there, because the first read is
Well,
obviously
Ben Johnson said he wasn't even an option.
all right, so that's even
Ben Johnson
better.
came out and said he wasn't even an option.
That's even better. That makes no sense. So he's not even an option in that play. People say he's open, but Caleb's not thinking that. So you have, Komet in the end zone, or Loveland, sorry. You
Yeah, it
have
was Loveland.
Swift, who was like in front of Caleb, and you have Caleb running. And DJ Moore, I mean, I don't understand it. Is he a part of the Bears' future? This is kind of going into the Chicago Bears now. Is he a part of the future or not? Which is the interesting question, because I remember Ben Johnson said before the season started, or I think it was early weeks, he said the way you practice is I think per- the way you practice is
He
the
practices the way that you play.
yeah, is like how much attention you get on the field during the games. And now I wonder if there's something going on with Caleb and DJ, because Caleb's sticking with Rome. Like him and Rome are, on the same page. So I'm wondering what's going on there with DJ Moore. Going into the actual Packer Bear
Yeah,
game now, there's a couple talking points I want to get to, and it was honestly a great game. Honestly, a great game. It was a game of two halves from both teams. The Packers, the first half, dominated, kept Caleb Williams in the offense to, I think it was 82 yards or 72 yards, something like that. Under 100 for sure. I can't remember the exact number.
85, I think.
Yeah, something like that. They had Caleb pressured. He was off balance. He was pressured a lot. And the offense came out and they put up the points. I mean, they came out, scored 14. It was great to see Christian Watson. I love Christian Watson, man. That guy is a killer to the Lions, killer to
It's
the
the
Bears.
jersey.
The jersey, man. He's an absolute stud when he's healthy. I mean, he's just a great route runner, big wide receiver. And when you put him one on one with somebody, I like the odds. So it was good to see. It was actually really interesting too, Nick. We talk about Matthew Golden, and we also talk about DJ Moore's absence. We have our CB6 out there. All right, maybe not CB6, but CB4, whatever. Bo Melton over Matthew Golden in that long 45-yard touchdown. That's like a Matthew Golden kind of receiver play style. I'm wondering why Golden is not getting any sort of targets, play designs for him. It's kind of it's interesting. It's not good, honestly, for Matthew Golden. This his first rookie year.
I mean, there's a lot of question marks behind Matthew Golden. Obviously, the first round draft pick that's a wide receiver by the Packers, at least in our lifetime. But really, even at the beginning of the season, they weren't really utilizing him as much. And then obviously he goes down with the injury and he comes back from injury and really doesn't do anything. Now, it could be that they're trying to work him in, like back into the offense with the injury and not really wanting him to be utilized, kind of like a decoy type of deal. Kind of like how last year going to the Lions, how JMO was for the past couple years for Amon Ra, kind of being that decoy type player until he can kind of find his own way into the offense. I think that might be the situation with Matthew Golden because Matthew Golden is a lot kind of like JMO in a way that he's a deep threat and a great route runner and a speed demon, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of it. I think it was the same thing with Xavier Worthy that we saw with Kansas City. But I think that's probably what they're doing. And obviously, with the injury, it kind of stints his growth a little bit in terms of the offense. But I'd be interesting to see once it comes down to playoff time or really these next couple weeks if they start moving him into a bigger role.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see what they do with Matthew Golden because his development is really important, especially with him being a first round draft pick. Got to talk about also the Bears secondary. The Jordan Love honestly ate that blitz pressure up. He, I think, scored two touchdowns off of it. Great footballs, one to Christian Watson, the other one to Bo Melton. And yeah, the secondary was just not good for the Chicago Bears as Brisker let up that 45-yard touchdown. And CJ Gardner Johnson got burned on that one on one with Christian Watson, little slant route. And in the second half, we'll talk about it because the Bears honestly came out and they dominated. They had a 17 play drive which took so much time off the clock to get them back in the game, and the Packers couldn't stop them. I'm not sure exactly, I'm not sure exactly what happened from the first half to the second half, but honestly the offense did stall out. Going two drives, going three and out wasn't good. Had a couple of bad first down play calls. I got to talk about Josh Jacobs too because he made a great play on 3rd and 1. I believe it was the Bears had him in the backfield, dead to rights, and he somehow came out of that hole with 20 yards, man. And that's what led the Packers to take
That
the
guy's
lead.
just built different.
Yeah, that was an incredible play. That's what kept the drive alive to let the Packers take the lead 28-21. And of course, at the end, I was very confused as to why Ben Johnson wanted that call. Obviously, it's coming out that the Bears ran that same play against the Eagles, and it didn't work against the Packers. It was really odd rolling to Caleb's offside, as well as just the overall play call. I just didn't understand why you don't run Monangai there to get the 1 yard because they were running the football that drive. So I was really interested to see that. It shocked me. Keyshawn Nixon came up with the play. And now, Nick, you mentioned it earlier. Got to talk about the referees because my God, what are we doing? Okay.
Yeah,
First of all, the first drive. I actually want to talk about this. I don't know if you saw it, but Colt Loveland got the ball, caught it, and then I think Evan Williams like punched it out. I didn't see an angle where the ball hit the ground, and Evan Williams came out with the
yeah,
football. I thought it was either a fumble and recovered by the Packers or an interception. They called that incomplete. I was super
yeah,
confused as to how that could have been incomplete. I was interested if you saw the play. What are your thoughts on it?
yeah. I did see the play. I was kind of tuning in and out a little bit on the Packers game, but I will say it. I'm with you on that. It did look like potentially an interception because it was very similar to the DJ Reed call at the very end of the Lions game, where it's bobbled essentially, and the ball touches the ground but doesn't really touch the ground to keep possession. Like the possession wasn't because of it hitting the ground, if that makes sense. But I did see an angle where it was very close. Now the question is, did Colston Loveland make a football move? That's where a lot of it comes in, and I believe he did.
I thought so
I
too. Yeah.
believe I think it was two steps he did, and then the hit comes in, ball comes out, and I do believe that it should have been ruled, like you said, either a fumble recovered by the Packers or an interception.
I was super interested by that call, and then you mentioned it earlier. How did Keyshawn Nixon? Now, Keyshawn Nixon, don't get me started as a Packer fan. That guy will draw us a penalty at the worst times, and he did one time in this game. But the second penalty,
Quay Walker,
how did Keyshawn Nixon get penalized for getting grabbed in the throat while the ref was watching this altercation happen right in front of his face? What are we doing as the NFL referees? I'm super confused because it's a rivalry game. You know, Carrington, Valentine, and Burden were getting into it. Sure, they were just talking. Keyshawn Nixon walks over. I get it. Probably shouldn't have. Burden put his hand on Keyshawn Nixon's throat. How is that not a 15-yard penalty or an ejection? You know, that is intolerable.
yeah,
And the penalty went on Keyshawn Nixon. Help me out.
I think it stems from him even walking over there. I think it starts with that, and then obviously Burden putting his hands on his throat. Maybe the refs were like, that's a little bit of retaliation, but most of the time they call that retaliation because they see the second bit of it, right? But I will say that was a horrible penalty call. And yes, Keyshawn Nixon probably could have avoided going over there. But at the same time, it's like you don't know if, especially a rivalry game like the Bears and the Packers, like I said last week, it's a rivalry as old as time. But you got to think about it this way, right? He was backing up his teammate, making sure that it didn't get escalated. And him going over there may have escalated it. So that could have been where the penalty comes in. But at the same time, I don't agree with the penalty.
Yeah, I just honestly don't get it. I don't know also too what the NFL is going to do about Micah Parsons getting held because the images I am seeing, the videos
Same
I am
thing with
seeing,
Hutchinson, too.
it's these pass rushers are very good and I get it. They'd be calling flags every other play if that was the case, but they called one holding call that game against the Bears. How can you sit there and allow that to happen? I mean, it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
These
can we just both agree that the NFL refs have been getting way worse over the last 3 to 4 years because the play that Brian Branch, going back to the Lions game, the play that Brian Branch tore his Achilles really shouldn't have happened because the left guard, or sorry, the left tackle moved 4 seconds before the snap was called and held Hutchinson. So that really should have been two penalties, and they called a DPI on Anzalone, then switched it to OPI to Ferguson, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't know what the penalty is."
As Matt LaFleur in the post-game conference summed it up, I don't know what holding is anymore. I mean, he was outraged
Yeah,
because he's yelling at the refs. He's pissed off, which I completely understand. After seeing that, I would be too. And there's no wonder why Micah Parsons wasn't. I mean, he still got pressures, but he couldn't get in the backfield. No wonder why. This dude's getting held, and it's so bad. I don't know what the NFL refs have to do. I understand their job is difficult, but you got to call these things because this is critical in these playoff games, these games for seedings, like, drives that happen off of this crap. You know, it's so detrimental. And a key guy like Micah Parsons, who's looked at by the league, looked at by every opponent, you got to call it. I mean, it's ridiculous. So that's my 2 cents on the Packers
yeah.
Bears game.
The refs definitely hasn't. The NFL refs just really haven't been good. But we're gonna quickly get into predictions for next week. Obviously, in other news, the Colts signed Philip Rivers, so he comes out of retirement. I saw something where it's like his oldest kid is older than the Colts backup quarterback, and I just found that absurd. But starting off with the Packers versus the Broncos. This is a big game. Yes, it is NFC versus AFC. But the Broncos are one of the hottest teams in the NFL at the moment. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go with the Broncos. It is in Denver. And I'm going to go with a score of 17-14.
Denver, I don't know why it's one of those places that the Packers, don't play well in. They just don't. The Broncos have had the Packers number now for some time. I don't think the Broncos, I mean, they do have a great defense, do not get me wrong. I do think that the Packers have a better offense, though. I do think, obviously, Love is better than Bo Nix. I do like the Packers offense here. I think it'll be a close scoring game, 24-20, something above like that. Packers win. Packers do need this win because in the next game here, we'll talk about the Bears. They got it pretty easy.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears taking on the Cleveland Browns. I mean, is it even a question? I mean,
Yeah.
the Bears are going to take this. So
I
let's
think
just move on. I think it's going to be like 35-9 or something like that.
I think the Bears will win 28-13, but it's nice to see Shador though, throwing a couple touchdowns, couple tutties. I know it's against the Titans, but nonetheless.
Yeah. Then next, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Dallas Cowboys, who are now out of playoff contention. As of now, they are at 9% chance to make the playoffs. And I think the Cowboys have a bounce back game. I think they're going to take down the Vikings. It's in Dallas,
Yeah.
and I think they're going to win. I got to think with probably without CD Lamb, it's probably going to be 35 to. That defense is pretty bad though too. 35-24.
Yeah, I think it'll be a 30-17 game. Dallas has this game in the bag. Pretty easy. So,
And then probably what should be the game of the week.
this is a huge game.
The Lions take on the Rams. The Stafford versus Goff rivalry continues. Obviously, these players were traded for each other back in 2021. Rams looking like the best team in the NFC by far right now. Matthew Stafford on a stint to win MVP. This is difficult because I want to go with my Lions, but I also want to think realistically. But I think that Lions front seven is just better. So I think it's going to really come down to that secondary for me.
Puka
But I
Nakua,
think
man.
it's going to be, yeah, Puka.
Puka.
It's probably going to be a Meek Roberson on him
Kyron
or
Williams,
Rakusin
Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, Devontae.
versus Al-Qadim Muhammad, who had 3 sacks on Dak. Hutch, who's one of the best defensive ends in the game. Tyleek Williams, who's ranked, ready? Tyleek Williams ranked fifth best defensive tackle in the NFL, which is insane. But I think it's going to come down to the run game and the secondary. It's going to come down to those two. I think the Lions just have more to lose,
Okay.
so I'm going to pick them to win. I think when they're put in this situation, that true grit comes out. So I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to say it's going to be 34-31.
It's gonna be. I'm super excited for this game. As a Packers fan, you got to be rooting for the Lions here because the Rams are 10-3. I got the Rams though, 27-20 with a late touchdown. It's gonna be something crazy. This game, I'm super excited for though. I can't wait to watch it. It's gonna be a banger, as you said.
I mean, realistically, you can go either way with this game.
Yeah,
It's
it's.
definitely a big one.
What's the spread on it? Do you know?
Rams by 3.5.
Yeah, it's gonna be a close one. Jeez, it's gonna be a banger. I can't wait to watch it. Honestly, the Packers game will be pretty good too, in my opinion. So this week will be very interesting. So hopefully we both come back happy.
And it's going to come down to the playoff seeding. Obviously, with Philadelphia losing, we won't get into that game, but Philadelphia losing is big for the other teams in the NFC, especially the NFC North and even the NFC West coming in hot on everyone's tail. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we'll have more shorts coming your way, kind of like Mike running around his apartment left and right. But we got to make sure that you guys keep liking these episodes. Let us know in the comments what other types of topics you guys want us to come out with and potential live streams that we might do going into next season. Obviously, the Lions and Packers have already faced twice, so we can't really do that. But potential playoff matchup that we could see. But let us know in the comments who you guys have winning these games as well. If your predictions are different than us or the same as us. But you guys can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and go follow our Twitter at Gridiron Pod NFL. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.